Oh yeah. Now the mic's live. Hello. Okay, I'm gonna take off my mask so that the deaf community can read my lips because I can't sign fast enough.
The rest of us are masked though.
Yes, everyone else is wearing a mask. See, I'm trying to get this. Can I bend this? Is this bendable?
Yes, Wendell. Oh, by the way, you have any Avengers or Fantastic Four might be in the auction?
Maybe. Maybe it's bendable. All right.
Yes.
Hopefully that's good.
Not yet.
Okay. Where's my books? I've got this stack of books here, and I don't have my books. Give me 1 second, guys. Thank you. Let me grab my books. Should we start with Marvel this time?
Last word.
I've got this stack, and it's kind of reversed from what I read it. But oh my God, do we have a lot of books to review this week? Do we have any pop culture news?
Keanu Reeves has been offered the role of Kraven the Hunter
I heard about
for a
that.
Sony spinoff.
And the internet rebutted, and they said they wanted to do. What's the guy who does the voice? He plays.
Billy Butcher.
Yeah,
They want Carl Urban
They
to
want
do
Carl
Kraven.
Urban.
Yeah, Carl
I can see
Urban would
that.
play a better Craven.
I can see either way to be 100% honest with you.
I can't see Keanu as Craven. I can't. No,
I can't.
No.
That's a big dude.
he's got too much of a surfer boy voice too. I like Keanu for a lot of things, but my fingers crossed that one day he'll be the one above all.
Oh,
So-
I'm totally down.
Yeah, that one makes more sense to me.
And then,
Um,
they offered Knuckles the Agenda to Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa as Knuckles. You know who's going to be really happy about that is probably Jacob Noonan. Yeah, he has kind of Knuckles' voice, so it sort of makes sense. This is like right up in my face. Sorry, Twitch, you're like right here. Let's dive in. Let's just jump right in. Anybody got any jokes to start us off?
All the Rorschach jokes usually come from you.
A donkey and a.
See, Yogi likes to tell Schrodinger's joke. People never really know whether or not they should laugh or not because he never quite delivers the punchline. Okay. Anyways, we're going to jump in on here. This is King, Fornes, and Stewart, and we're talking about Rorschach. The thing about the Rorschach comics is I got to tell you that the variants look a million times better than the main covers.
True.
The A covers look okay at best, but the variants are brilliant. And this one, same thing. The variant is amazing. It's way, way better.
Beautiful.
This story is a wild one that centers around, we found out that it's a gal with mental health issues that thinks squids are programming people, and that Dr. Manhattan has taken the soul of Rorschach and put it into other people's bodies. So she's been slowly convincing people that they're Rorschach. And there's still no explanation as to why Rorschach's DNA was tied to like one of the characters at the beginning. So this is a wild and weird mystery. And the ending, well, not the ending, but the ending of this issue was pretty weird. The last issue, though, I got to tell you, we saw some fights that were just ridiculously funny. Somebody was definitely doing the embodiment of Rorschach, whereas somebody's sitting in their home and they're like, "Oh, I got away with this crime," and you see Rorschach just running down the hallway with like a crowbar, and there's one where the one guy's like, "No, stop," and he like pries open the elevator and throws him down the shaft, and like it was pretty hysterical and it felt very Watchmen like I had a good time with it. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on here, but King, he weaves a strange story, and I'd say don't skip it. It's still pretty fun. Next is a comic I have not loved at all. I kept trying to get into it, and I just can't. And I don't like the artist all that much. He's not really my jam. That's Morrison and Sharp's Green Lantern Season 2. it's really, it's weird because Grant Morrison, we have Grant Morrison to thank for All-Star Super, was it All-Star Superman? All-Star Superman, which is one of the best Superman trades and comics and trades that are out there. And I feel like he was trying to do that same sort of weird mystery and fun to the element of Green Lantern. It's too weird for me, and it's not my jam. And granted, when I think of Green Lantern, I think of the house that Jeff Johns built, which is a very sturdy house in the DC universe. And there are some wild, wild liberties in this. This one is no different. Green Lantern suddenly wakes up on a planet involving, I don't know, it feels like Conan and pirates and some fantasy sword slashing and something called technodactyls. There's a lot of weird here to unpack, and I'm just not having the best time with it. So I'm going to say that one's kind of skippable. It's hard to say as a Green Lantern fan. I feel like my mouth is filled with ash saying that. Next is Sheridan, Sandoval, Tarragona, and Sanchez, and we're talking about Future State, Teen Titans. Now, yes, we finally have a name for that weird amalgamation of, Nightwing wearing Deathstroke's mask. His name is Deathwing, not Dickstroke. Just so everyone knows, okay? They reference that joke in there. But what else do you get in here? Well, do we get the identity of Red X? Kind of, maybe not. It's might be confirmed, might not be confirmed. But we do find out what the apocalypse was and what that has to do with everything and how it came about. And it's actually kind of a cool reason. So I think our theories are correct as to who Red X is, but we're not entirely sure. So, I'm just going to, a little bit spoilery, I know. It's maybe there, maybe not. Cam, you think it is?
What?
It is who it is? Don't spoil it.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways, but is it a good issue? Yes, it's a good issue. The art's great, and this actually leads into Titans Academy, which is going to be a prequel to all this. So it's going to be the early story for how the world came to be like this. So I want to know it. So yeah, good showing, guys, and come pick it up. Next is a book I loved the first one and actually did not have the best time with this one. And that is Robin Eternal. Or as we pretty much saw Tim Drake die in the last issue and come back to life, which is not uncommon for a Robin at all. And, there's reason for it. But I got to tell you, as somebody who loves action, and I love a lot of it, there was almost too much action. It was too much sort of like excuses for throwing punches and not quite enough explanation as to what was going on. And I mean, like, jumping trains throwing punches, flying through the air throwing punches. There's a lot of wildness to the story. Maybe it's the fact that I had to speed read it, but I didn't have the best time with this one in particular, and I'm saying that as somebody who really loved the opener. So I don't know. I'm on the fence. If you bought the first one and you really want to know how it ends up, definitely go buy the second one. If you're anyone else, don't jump in on this one. Go read the first one and decide if that sounds like your jam. Next is another book that, this one, I didn't like the first one either. This is Bennett and Savage, and this is Kara Zor-El, Superwoman. Now, I should preface saying I didn't like the first one. I loved the art. The art is really, really cool. The story was sort of all over the place and a bit strange. And, not much has improved here. I did like this one a little bit better than the last one, and I really, really love the art. But it's kind of a strange story. And maybe it's one of those ones that you really have to just sit down and take your time with. But I didn't have the best time with it. So again, if you're an art snob like I am, you'll probably still pick this up because let me tell you, the art inside the pages are just absurdly cool. It's really, really good art. The storyline, however, leaves a little bit to be desired. Next is a book I absolutely loved everything about. Williamson V, Roca, Takara, Henriquez, Ferraro Jr., and Maiola. And finally, we can talk about the first issue of Justice League Future State because I'm holding Justice League Future State, the second issue, so we can talk about the first one. Now, the first one showed that, well, there were a couple things I had problems with about it. One, when it came time to investigate, one thing I loved is that Far Sector dove in and started doing the detective work. One thing that I hated was that the next Batman just dipped out. He just left. Completely left and left it all up to Joe Mullen to figure out what was going on. And she did. And I love Joe Mullen for it because she'll always figure out stuff what's happening sooner. But we came to find out that, well, Superman and the other members of the Justice League had done destruction and had hurt all those people. And the reason being was, well, they weren't themselves. That was white Martians posing as them. And white Martian, like one white Martian is a huge problem because if you know the Martians of the DC universe, they're divided into green and white are the war species. So one of them is a really big problem. A whole team of them is a giant problem. So yeah. But I love the way that first issue played out, especially like Joe figuring it out and immediately throwing a punch at Superman, which, let's be honest, the most powerful hero in all of the DC universe, everyone and their mother would hesitate to throw a punch on Superman, save for maybe Batman. I think Batman is the only one that would, because he'd be sure of his punch, right? But for Joe Mullen, Far Sector, to just instantly throw a punch says a lot about her character, and I really, really love her as a character. I honestly think she's my favorite Green Lantern these days. So yeah, definitely go pick up that first one. The second one, I'm happy to say the story was great. Again, had a really good time with the story. It wrapped up in a very Justice League sort of way, and we're gonna see more from this team, aren't we?
So.
Yeah, we hope so. As far as the second story was Justice League Dark, and we saw that, well, Etrigan was not bound to Jason Blood. He's actually, it's gone the form of Simeon, Rise of the Demon Etrigan. Yeah, he's bound to Bobo, Detective Chimp. And I thought that was a fun change. Meanwhile, the rest of it, John Constantine shows up with, walking out of the darkness with a lighter flick. It felt very Justice League Dark. I had a good time with it. The ending of this one was not as fun as the first issue, I will say that. But it was a pretty good ending. I can't complain about it. I honestly, it felt like it should have gone longer and we should have gotten more storyline, and it felt like it was maybe just cut a little short. I'm not sure why. But again, Justice League Future State, absolutely go buy it. It's a great comic. I love it. Next, here's a comic that improved, I thought. This is Waters, Del Duca, and Filardi. Now, I'm going to say it improved. I hate the art, and I hated the art of the first one. Didn't like it at all. I'm not sure what it was. It just felt like it was drawn a bit. It was a bit different of a style than I'm used to. But Superman, Wonder Woman, Future State. I like Yara Flor, and she does this well. And honestly, I laughed at the way this turned out, the way the ending happened. Now, does the story feel a bit all over the place? Yeah, at times it did. And the art, did the art improve? No, it's the same art, and I'm still not bonding with it. But I like the way they made me laugh a couple times, and it was okay story. It was nothing to complain about. Better than the first issue. So yeah, we've got it. Come pick it up. If you like the first one, you will definitely love the second one, because honestly, it improved on the first one. I need a drink. My throat only has so much talking to it before I gotta fill up on a drink. Next is Thorne, Venditti, Campbell, Rainey, Soy, Tong, Etienne, Sinclair, and Quintana. We're talking about Future State, Green Lantern, and okay, look. Okay, I know Grant Morrison is a master storyteller, and maybe some people disagree with my viewing on the other Green Lantern title that's on DC's shelf right now, but I feel like this is how you tell a surreal Green Lantern story. Now, this one takes place with John Stewart dealing with people worshiping a red god. And immediately, especially if it's people calling for war and blood, I think everybody thinks Red Lanterns and thinks Atrocitus. Especially since it has something to do with their planet and people that look like Atrocitus. We would all assume that. But it didn't go that way. That's all I'm going to say. And you're going to have to read it to find out. But if you're going to tell a surreal Lantern Corps story about like sort of a futuristic semi-apocalyptic thing that you've thrown Jon Stewart in, this is the way you do it. And it was a really, really good story. I had a good time with that. The next story centers around Teen Lantern and Mogo, which is a weird team up I never knew I wanted, and had a good time with it, even though, again, I hate the name Teen Lantern. I can't stand that name. I'm so tired of it. The last story felt like a real sense of desperation involving Hal Jordan, and it ends with another Lantern that's going to continue on after. And it was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, go pick up. If you're a Green Lantern fan, definitely go pick up Future State Green Lantern. Honestly, that's the Green Lantern I've wanted on the shelf these days. Next is Tamaki Rosenberg, Mora Giamencio, Belair, and Fabella, and we're talking about Dark Detective, also featuring Grifter. The second story is Grifter and Huntress. It's okay. I'm of the assumption that story you can pick and leave. It's okay. If you like Grifter, maybe you like it. I don't know too many people that really like Grifter, though, if I'm honest. The first story, however, picks up with the Dark Detective. And, Bruce Wayne has been assumed dead and is now alive and sort of living in a loft apartment and trying to get to the bottom of the magistrate and what he's doing with these nano drones, which are everywhere in Gotham. And I think we can all assume he's probably spying on all of Gotham. That's probably what's going on. But he's getting to the bottom of it, and we're going to actually have a collision course between, the new Batman and Dark Detective. And the way it sort of gets resolved is kind of funny. Like, I sort of laughed at how that exchange that happened. You'll see. This story's great. I have nothing to complain about. As a Batman fan, I'm having fun with this, and that's really all you want out of Batman. So, yeah, that's here. Next is Scott Snyder, Raphael Albuquerque, Dave McCaig, and this is American Vampire 1976. Now, does it take place in 1976? Yeah, it does. But does it reference a certain event in 1776? Yeah. Turns out our forefathers might have cut some deals with some dark entities for freedom. And it was a really, really fun read. You get a vampire council that is not unlike the vampire. Honestly, the weird thing is whenever somebody mentions a vampire council, I think of What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, and the vampire council in there, which is a very comical vampire council to include Wesley Snipes on the council, who uses a webcam to like go in, and he's always delayed. It's a very comical vampire council, and that's what you get here. The vampire council had me laughing more than and they were very serious, but the way they looked and acted, just it reminded me of What We Do in the Shadows, and I was like laughing through it. The American Vampire is, he's no longer a vampire, but he's dealing with that quite nicely. And everyone else is, it's kind of a fun cast. And they're going to explain some stuff about our forefathers. And it was a good read. So, yeah, I'd say don't skip this one. If you've been on the fence about this American Vampire stuff, it's Scott Snyder. We all know it's good. And even if you haven't jumped in, the time is nigh. Go jump in. I said that like I'm like an old timey. The time is nigh. All right. Next is DC Love is a Battlefield. I told you we should have stayed in this year, and it's Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy. So I didn't know what I was getting when I kind of did. These are all going to be like a series of stories all wrapped up and centering around a holiday. It's DC's holiday specials. They do these every holiday. Of course, you can tell from the cover, there's a Poison Ivy Harley Quinn story. There is a Catwoman story where she takes a date to the villain ball, and that date's name is Matches Malone. Makes sense. And there is a really, really touching story that has a grander statement on some of our past atrocities, I guess you could say, in the military. That is a Sergeant Rock story. And it's kind of like, I read that and was like, yeah. as somebody who knew somebody who fell into this category that was in the army, it kind of hit close to home. Like you'll see. But it was a really good issue. Honestly, I had a good time. And this is, what are these, $9.99? You're getting a trade paperback for $10, and it's really good stories. And if you're the kind of person that likes Valentine's Day, I'm not. You might absolutely love this. I still loved it. So come check it out. It'll be on our shelf. Next is Star Wars Insider, the official magazine. This is issue 200. Now, Cam, you picked this up. I had no idea what I was getting, nor did I know that this comic or this magazine existed. I am a Star Wars fan and had no idea. What do you get in this? Well, you get some cosplay show off. You get some stories about, like, you know, stuff going on behind the scenes. You get some people recollecting other older stories, looking into the origins of stuff. You get some comics news. You get some Star Wars news, and you get a tribute to Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher. So it was a really, really, really good magazine. So if you're a Star Wars fan, I'd say don't skip it at all. Probably my favorite part of this, honestly, it was the archive. So they go back and they tell like an older story, and then all the cosplay, and it's a pretty cool issue. So that'll be on our shelf. Next is McKay, Viti, and Guru Effects. And we can finally talk about that last issue. This is Taskmaster. Taskmaster has been framed for the murder of Maria Hill, and Black Widow is coming for him, which makes him scream internally. That's the backstory. He's finally going to sort of get to the bottom of what's going on, but the last issue had him fighting Hyperion. And what the hell? What the hell? So Hyperion, if you don't know, is a hero that is extremely overpowered. His powers are comparable to Superman. More importantly, there's a million, I don't know how many clones, but like a lot of clones of him, and some of them are crazy, so you never really know which one you're getting. And in the last issue, Taskmaster went toe-to-toe with Hyperion and won. After getting the ever-loving crap beat out of him, Taskmaster won. And I got to tell you, I'm a Moon Knight fan, okay? I love Moon Knight, and Moon Knight is nothing like his memes. Like, if you've ever seen Moon Knight memes, he's not like that. But a character who is exactly like Moon Knight memes, minus the whole ketamine addiction, is Taskmaster. If you want a comic with Moon Knight memes, that same feeling, read Taskmaster. It's funny, it's great, it's brutal, and for whatever reason, I feel like I'm reading Moon Knight memes in comic form. So come read Taskmaster. It's amazing. Next is Howard Toe and Arcianega, and this is Excalibur. Now, the last issue, well, we finally got the team realizing that old Betsy Braddock is back from the dead. Or is she? You're going to have to read to find out. I will say it's kind of interesting. The team's sort of setting up shop in sort of another realm, in like a hollowed out tree of another realm, and they're trying to like put things back together. And meanwhile, Betsy Braddock shows up, and we're not entirely sure she is who she says she is. So yeah, Captain Britain gets called, and he's like, "Is that really my sister? There's a lot to unpack." I'm still pretty mad over the fight in X of Swords where she just shattered. She died instantly and shattered. What the hell was that all about, man? Nobody has an explanation for that. There's just like a big slap in the face. And granted, okay, Captain Britain, like, I don't know a lot of Captain Britain fans out there, but still, that was kind of a jerk move. So I'm happy to say this improves. This is actually a pretty good story. And yeah, I don't know. Anything with Rogue and Gambit in, usually I'm in full steam. So yeah, we'll have this on our shelves. Come pick it up. The art's great. The art's really, really good. Next is a book that I want to name my indie pick of the week, but it's just not quite there. I'm sorry, Cam. I know you're all hyped about this book. This is Kyle Higgins, Marcelo Costa with Becky Carey, and that is Radiant Black. Now, keep in mind, it's not my pick of the week, but it's close. It's close. The storylines here, you know, I know you've heard this before. common dude stumbles into a power suit and doesn't quite know its powers. That's sort of the trope we're going with here. It's like Scumbag. It's like Exo Man of Swords, how that started. It's like, I mean, if I had to say, it's the real American hero trope. That's really what it is. It's the real American hero trope. So it's the story's a little tropey. I'm not gonna lie. However, what's not tropey is the art. The art is stupid cool. The storyline is. I like these characters. I will say that I really like these characters. I wasn't bored with this. And reading it, I got to the last page and I did want to know more. I want to know where it's going. And they've already sort of done I can't spoil it, because if I say that, I'm going to be spoiling the last page. Let's just say it's a good opener. Not the best, pretty good opener, and I'm going to want to know more. I would say definitely don't skip it. I think I'm holding a variant here, aren't I? This is a variant.
Yeah,
that's a B cover. But we will have this on our shelves. Come pick it up. I'd say don't skip it. It feels like it's a little important, something important. Am I fully invested in it yet? Not yet, but it's all right. It's a good open. Grab a drink. My throat will go the distance, I swear. That sounded weird. Sorry, guys. Slott, Carlos, and Albertov. And we're talking about Fantastic Four. Finally. Okay, look, okay. If Yancey Street's going to get into the fight, then please let Yancey Street deal with the King in Black during the event, okay? Please. No slight against him, but I'm just going to point out again that the Avengers are dealing with the Phoenix Force and not dealing with the King in Black, when every other comic on the shelf seems to be dealing with the King in Black. But we know what's going to happen because we saw one member of the Fantastic Four in a nullified variant. So we know it's coming. It's coming. He looks dope. So we finally get to see that. We do get to see a couple other members of the Fantastic Four fall. But let's be honest, the Fantastic Four is not really four anymore. It's the Fantastic Family these days. And my God, there's a lot of them. But it was a really good read. There's a lot of action. The art was great. The storyline it's Dan Slott. And, I got to tell you, the only thing that feels off is Johnny Storm is perfectly happy in a relationship with this gal and not like plague the field these days. It's kind of strange. He's in love with his soulmate, and his soulmate has wings. It's a very weird relationship, but I'm into it. The family's gone a lot of other places, so let's let this happen. So don't skip it. It was a good King in Black tie-in. Not the best, but pretty good. Next is Gerner, Bivens, Monahan, and Powell, and this is The Devil's Red Bride. Now, I will tell you that I'm glad this comic is continuing on. It's essentially a female samurai is probably the best swordsman there is, and she's taken on a lot of them. She was posing as her brother for a while. And this is going to have her going up against a mentor. Now, honestly, the last issue felt like it was the last issue, and I think it was supposed to be. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I think they turned this into an ongoing, and I'm happy for it. The storyline was really, really, really fun. Oh, no, I think this is finally the last one. No, this is the last one. Okay. Well, this is the last one, but the last issue felt like the last one, so I'm a bit confused. But I will say this has been the funnest ride, and I wish this would continue. The Devil's Red Bride was an amazing. It felt like I was reading an Akira Kurosawa film, or a bloody Usagi Yojimbo, a really bloody Usagi Yojimbo. It was a really good samurai story. Was not bored at all, and the art was just brilliant. So yeah, we'll have it on our shelf. Next is Larson. That's all it says is Larson. Did Larson do this entire book? Oh my God. No, she did the illustration written and the cover. The variant was different. She really did all this whole book. Oh, good showing. This is Kaboom Studio, and this is Orcs. We picked this up and thought it was like a variant of Kids, right? It's not. This is an orc story that centers around, the beginning story is a bit of a fake out. It turns out somebody telling a story. And then it goes from there, and it centers around the orc children. So it does kind of have that kids feel, but with orcs. Now, I had a good time with it. I'm going to tell you, there's not a lot of depth here. It's just kind of a fun story that involves orcs getting into trouble and what they're dealing with, and a bit of magic too. At one point, somebody decides to like meditate and go to the astral plane, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're gone right now," and they're like standing right there, just with their eyes like glowing. It was kind of fun. It was very fantasy sort of modern mix. So I'd say this is a pretty fun read if you're looking for a good indie to start with this week. This is a number one, and I had a good time with it. And I don't tend to like all those Kaboom numbers, so yeah. Next is Waters, Wingard, Bidikar, and Muller. And this is Homesick Pilots. Don't you hate it when your local punk band lead singer gets distracted by a haunted house and has to go find ghost relics while simultaneously being powered with the same powers comparable of ghosts?
What?
This is a weird storyline, man. Let me tell you, and the house is like murking people left and right. Like there is a lot of moving parts here, and I'm loving it. I'm really, really loving it. I'm having a damn fine time with this story. It's fun. It's wild. The characters are not there. There's a lot of depth to each of these characters, and there are some surprises. Plus, the color is very 80s. Like it's a lot of pinks and blues, and I'm just it's a good time. So, Homesick Pilots once again, issue number 3. Not bored at all, and honestly, I feel like I should be collecting this. It's a pretty damn good indie. Is it my pick of the week? For maybe. Maybe. No, it's not. It's not my indie pick of the week. It's close.
I think it is.
It's close. What?
I think I have a feeling.
Next is, oh God, such a good comic. Pack, Yenko, Menon, and this is Star Wars Darth Vader. Now, Darth Vader has turned the tables and has captured the Sith assassin, and that's been a pretty amazing read. On top of that, he's lost some limbs, so he's built new limbs out of droids because he's pretty technical. He's not been allowed to use the Force because the Emperor forbids it, and now he's going up against a giant space tentacle monster that doesn't look unlike Space Cthulhu, if you were to imagine it, and he's got a fleet of Imperial TIE fighters behind him. He's backed into a corner, but if you know Vader, yeah, pretty much you're in that corner with him. Man, what an awesome race. This entire Darth Vader run has been just so amazing, and I don't feel like I'm doing it justice. But the fact that Pack really hits it home that Vader is a haunted person. And if you put him in these hard situations, the things he would think back on and the regrets, I don't even know if you'd call them regrets, just the sheer anger he would draw from his own mistakes and how much he hates himself would be pretty. There's a lot of monumental places where he's made terrible decisions. Let's just say that. And it's nice to see that somebody writes trauma like that into Vader, and it works so well. So, again, issue number 10 of this Darth Vader run. Honestly, of all the Darth Vader runs that I have read to date, this has been my favorite. And it's not stopping, so don't skip at all. Next is Percy, Kasara, and Guru Effects. Oh, man, we need to talk about trauma here, too. If you don't know, this is everyone's favorite Omega. Well, really, this is his favorite Omega. By him, I mean Quentin himself. On X-Force. And yeah, Quentin is ridiculously powerful. He's also got an ego. And he kind of sees himself as the only true member of X-Force. Right? He even thinks Wolverine is kind of his lackey at one point, which is pretty weird. Meanwhile, Quentin keeps getting killed. King Omega somehow keeps getting murdered and brought back to life, and he's doing it in these hard situations. And he thinks he's doing the right thing to, do what's right by X-Force and Krakoa. And maybe he is, or maybe there's some other trauma at play. And if I'm honest, this was an amazing costume. I mean, amazing costume. An amazing comic for a lot of reasons. One, Quentin gets a new costume. That's my mind was sort of jumping the gun there. We get to see his new costume. It's honestly pretty cool. Two, it feels like it might be a grander statement on trauma. Three, there is a pretty good mystery going on here, and I want to know more. So X-Force has been awesome. But again, written by Percy, and I tend to like everything that Percy writes. I have no complaints about it. And none of that's changed here. This is a pretty good showing. But keep in mind, Bishop just loves cops like X-Force. That Marauder slam was just the best slam, dude. Next is Sean Lewis and Caitlin Yarsky, and this is Bliss. Now, Bliss is a weird, surreal story that's sort of like fantasy, sci-fi, that centers around, you could take a drug and completely forget like days of your past, what you've done in the days before, and if you did really, really evil stuff, but you had a good reason for doing it, like buying medicine for your sick son, is it right? Is it wrong? Like, if you can't remember it, did you really do wrong? Does that make you a terrible person? Do you eventually have to find those memories and deal with them? There's a grander statement here, and it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of like books on trauma these days. It seems like in this stack, yeah. Yeah, it was. This is a really, really good comic. The art is ridiculously cool. And I mean like ridiculously cool. They do such surreal stuff, but like it just draws your eyes in, and just to me it feels like my eyes are dancing when I'm staring at the pages, like just glancing across them. It's some cool art. You really need to see it. And for whatever reason, the story's really, really fun too, and it does feel like it's a mashup between good and evil with a grander statement in there. And it's dark and it's messed up and it's good. For whatever reason, it's not selling. It's tripping me out. We put it on our shelves and nobody's buying it. And this is an amazing comic. So please come pick it up. It's great. Next is Zdarsky, Chichetto, Hawthorne, Deben Benedetto, and Menyes. And oh wow. King in Black Daredevil was outstanding. Regular Daredevil, well, he's in jail right now, and he actually gets infected by a null symbiote, and that's a problem because if you love God and another God shows up, a god of evil, and tries to infect you, that your internal struggle is going to run deep. And especially for Murdoch, that seems like a really deep struggle. Meanwhile, Elektra has taken on the mantle of Daredevil and is doing quite a good job picking up that mantle. She's doing great. And we've got an infected, Typhoid Mary in play, which that's a real problem too. This Daredevil run has gotten ridiculously fun. There's a ton of action. The art is amazing. They're going in a direction we haven't seen before. And I got to tell you, Daredevil stocks are up. Buy Daredevil stocks through the roof. Stonks. Nobody in this store is laughing at my memes, but it's good. I'm telling you, come pick this up. It's amazing. Next is 80 Years of Archie with a one-shot for Valentine's Day, and that is Archie and Friends Guide to Dating. Now, I have never really been into the old-style Archie comics. I do like some of the new stuff, but the old style is kind of cheesy and goofy at times, to include Archie's method on dating that he advises Lips on. Do you guys want to know what his method is?
Bacon and cigarettes?
It's the Dennis method. It really is. His method is Lips, and he spells it out. Listen. Be intrigued by what they say. But like, it's the Dennis method. It is the Dennis method in Archie form. And there are some other stories to it. It was kind of fun. I chuckled a couple times. And granted, I don't think I'm the target demographic for Archie comics, or maybe I am. I'm getting kind of up there in age. But it was okay. It's kind of fun. I think if you were buying this for a tween, they might complain and say, why don't you buy me the new Archie stuff? But, it's here. Carl Andrews and Brian Reber. And we're talking about Erratic. Oh man, Erratic. I love this hero. This hero to me feels like sort of like a modern take on Spider-Man is what it feels like. And yeah, it's a new hero and it's an indie title, but it's fun. He's got some electricity powers. The art is really, really good. When he belts out, it is some nicely drawn action. I'm going to tell you that. And meanwhile, I'm wrapped up in the whole soap opera of his life, which is very high school drama. It does feel like that sort of, I guess, Miles Morales Spider-Man type feel. And meanwhile he's learning his powers and he's learning his suit upgrade and floundering with the ladies. And it's just a good time with some good art. So Erratic, come pick it up. Next is McCreary, Glass, and Nysterico. And we talked about this last time, Last Witch. Well, it centered around a young gal who was warned not to leave her family's village and go towards the forest because there were witches there, and we all predicted that she was going to turn out to be a witch the entire time because that's a trope. And yeah, okay, that's the route they went. But there were a couple twists and turns, and it was fun, really, really fun, and the art was good, so I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed at all, and I'm not sure where this is going. Yeah, the origin of it felt a bit tropey, but it's also kind of fun, and it's actually centering around a magical apocalypse, and I want to know more. So Last Witch, good showing. You managed to hook me on the second book, and I'm going to keep picking them up. So, and I think you guys should as well. They're honestly pretty good comics, even though the opening was kind of, we all saw it coming. Next is a book that, I used to wake up early to watch on, I think, Sunday mornings, and that is Three Stooges. Through the Ages. Now, it's a Three Stooges story, and it's kind of fun. Centers around the fellas first trying to join a wrestling match to get money, which is kind of funny, you know? And the second story, I kid you not, is like, what if you put the Three Stooges in the ending for Blazing Saddles? Do you remember the ending for Blazing Saddles? How out of hand that got? Right? It got ridiculously out of hand and bled into like other scenes of other movies type stuff. And that's what happens. Like, I really think the writer was like, what if we put them in that scene? How would that turn out? And it was fun. I had a really good time with it. So yeah, oddly enough, I'm going to tell you to buy a Three Stooges comic this week because I had a good time with it. Yeah. Man. Let me take a drink before I go on about this one. Look. When I was a kid, if I could get a hold of a Spider-Man comic, I was a happy kid because, Spider-Man comics are a really, really good time. And it was usually, you know, like Spidey fights the bad guys and does what's right. And I got to tell you, this Amazing Spider-Man run it's not it for me at all. I'm not having the best time with Nick Spencer's run, and I can't put my finger on it. But today, in this issue, it occurred to me that, something happens and Spidey just sort of like bows out and like says, "Oh, okay," and just sort of like lets the villain go. And I'm not happy with that. And granted, I know that Nick Spencer is building something bigger, and he keeps referencing, sins, which is like his whole shtick after the Sin Eater stuff. It's like revisiting previous mistakes in your life. But I'm not having a good time with it. And this isn't really the Spider-Man that I know and love. So
Like an Asian Spider-Man?
No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But it's not my favorite. And Nick Spencer, man, I don't know what you're doing, dude, but you got to let Spidey sort of return to his roots. Get rid of this really, really dark stuff and have a little bit more fun with it. Maybe take it in a direction we don't expect. Because right now, what I expect is that you're going to make this a dark-ass story and make it feel like it's Gotham in the Marvel universe is what it's feeling like. And that's not what I want from Spider-Man. So come on, man. All right, whatever. Next is Eastman, Campbell, and Pattinson. And this is TMNT. Oh my God, have I loved this for a lot of reasons. One, it called back to the Time Stress, which goes way, way back in Turtles history. Two, It has the albino turtle back from the future and meeting herself all grown up. 3, it centers around Mutant Town, and I've just loved the directions they've been going. Now, the last issue, well, we got introduced to 2 rather large turtles, or not turtles, 2 rather large creatures. One is a turtle, and I think the other one's a wolf. But we're going to come to find out that these are like kaiju level mutants in their infant stage. Yeah. So they're going in really weird, fun directions. And honestly, it feels like the OG Turtle stories with how surreal they can get at times while still keeping the good story narrative of the current run. And I'm having just the best time with it. We're going to have Bebop and Rocksteady step up. And I don't know, I have a feeling that before these next few issues are like finished, Bebop and Rocksteady are going to do something good for once, which is pretty out of character, but we're going to see. I'm having the best time with it, and I think if you're a TMNT fan, you're loving it. Next is a book I don't normally review, Goosebumps, Secret of the Swamp. Now, this is issue 5, and issue 5 is a wrap-up, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but from what I could tell, it seems like there are some ghost people dealing with werewolves and then other people caught in between, and whether or not that has permanent effects or not. And it felt very goosebumpy. Did I just say goosebumpy? Goosebumpy. It felt like the old Goosebumps TV show. It was okay. It was okay. If I was a teenager, I'd probably have a darn good time with this. I don't think I'm the target demographic. I will say the art was really good. The story was all right. And, stories with werewolves kind of intrigued me. So I had a pretty good time with it. And it'll be sitting on our shelves if you want to come read it. Next is the Red Sonja Valentine's Day Special 2021. And, oh, man. Honestly, I laughed 3, maybe 4 times in this. It centers around Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga. I mean, it's Baba Yaga roaming around with, a house with like rooster feet, giving Kulan Gath a love potion, and him falling in love with Red Sonja, just to spite Red Sonja, pretty much. So it was pretty funny, and seeing Kulan Gath of all people like become like sort of love struck with Red Sonja was weird. But it was funny. I laughed multiple times. The ending was weird. And watching Baba Yaga get the best of everyone it was odd, but it was fun. So as far as Valentine's Day specials go, I had a really good time with this. And I'm saying that as someone who's critical of Red Sonja books because there's just too damn many of them, in my opinion. And I had a good time. So come pick this up. Next is my indie pick of the week. And that is Matthew Mercer, Jody Hauser, Olivia Sampson, Masasik, Ariana Marr. We're talking about Critical Role's Vox Machina Origins. And yes, it's great. The team has wrapped up their last mission. They've gotten gold. And they're going to piss it all away because that's what they do. And then they're going to have to find another mission. Yeah, you kind of knew. They're going to be hanging out in taverns and sort of getting to the bottom of this. And where they go in this is something I haven't really seen much in their universe, I don't think. And honestly, it was pretty fun. So, good showing. But really, their barbarian might be my favorite barbarian in history. And I'm saying that as a barbarian connoisseur, somebody who plays barbarians in video games and loves barbarians and is a giant Conan fan, who is one of my favorite barbarians. But I think their barbarian happens to be my favorite. So, yes, it's awesome. And we get more of him doing what he does. It's great. If you love fantasy, the Critical Role books are perfect for you. Let me tell you, I know that they're a D&D gaming YouTube, and people know them from that and love them from that. But let me tell you, they're master storytellers, and it shows in their games. It shows in their comics. They're amazing. So my indie pick of the week for sure is this. Come pick it up. Next is my Marvel pick of the week. Did I pick a DC pick of the week? It's Justice League. Okay. My Marvel pick of the week, Thorne, Peralta, and Albertov. And this is the King in Black. I can't talk. There's too many black words. King in Black, Black Panther. I was getting tongue twisters saying the same word twice. This is my absolute Marvel pick of the week for good reason. It's amazing. It's amazing. T'Challa comes back. He's taken a break from the interstellar space campaign to fight on Earth and fight, the King in Black, Null. Meanwhile, Shuri's in the fight. Okoye's in the fight. We've got pretty much the fight for the soul of Wakanda. They've brought some interstellar troops in play. And Black Panther, well, he's got one hell of a plan. And by one hell of a plan, I mean like one that could almost rival Adam Warlock's plan in the Infinity Gauntlet. It is a plan, a really good plan that does involve sacrifice and does play out well and does make sense and is amazing. And by the end of it, like I was about to jump up and scream in my chair. So absolutely my pick of the week is this King in Black Panther. It was amazing. The art was great. Hi, Arkham Knight 510. The art is great. The storyline is amazing. Amazing. And let me tell you, for tie-ins, for comic events, this is how you do it. Like if you're a Black Panther fan like I am, then you will not be disappointed by this at all. And I know, Cam, you're a giant Black Panther fan.
Yes.
And you have not been having the best time with the interstellar stuff. You liked it, but
I liked it, but hasn't been my cup of joe.
not his cup of Joe. I would say cup of tea, but cup of Joe. But I'm going to tell you that as a Black Panther fan, this is what you pick up this week, and you will love it. And we're probably going to be discussing this week. Let's just put it that way. Next is Ralph Macchio. Ralph Macchio.
Karate Kid?
That says Ralph Macchio on it. Does it not? Am I tripping up on names?
No, that's what it says, man. Yeah.
It does, right? I don't think he didn't write this, did he? It's just somebody with the same name that I'm mispronouncing, probably.
Macchio?
I don't believe it. Okay, Ralph Macchio, Tom Wright, maybe Chris O'Halloran. And this is Morbius, Bond of Blood. Now, every Morbius book that has come out in like the past, I don't know, 5 years has always centered around the fact that Morbius is a vampire trying to cure himself of vampirism, tends to get the cure wrong, and it goes from there. This one sort of starts to do that and then goes in a different direction. So it's a little more refreshing. I didn't hate it. And I'm somebody who is really tired of Morbius books. I'm not going to lie. And I don't have high hopes for that movie because frankly, anything with Jared Leto in it, I just go full stop and ignore. Jared Leto, we should have only known Jared Leto for getting beat up in Fight Club, and I would have been happy with that. That's all I'm going to say. Not a huge Jared Leto fan. So anyways, but this comic did not quite go in that direction. Yeah, he was a bit haunted by it, but it went in the regular, like, sort of superhero way, but then Morbius sort of flubbed something. So it went in a different direction, and I'm going to say it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I had a good time with this Morbius book. Wasn't my favorite thing, but Morbius books are not usually my jam. No, I'm not excited for it at all. Somebody asked me if I was excited for the Morbius movie. No. I don't like Jared Leto. Whatever. Next is Elliot Rahal, Mattia Monaco, Matt Mia, and Taylor Esposito, and that is Knock 'em Dead. Well, we found out last issue that, this comedian was in a car accident and he was almost killed or maybe killed for a few minutes. And then he came back with something inside of him. And that something was evil, but it was making him funny on stage. So what do you do if you got to pay bills? Do you cast out the evil? Or do you just accept it and keep being funny? So, honestly, this Knock 'em Dead, I feel like it's not going to go much further. Is this the wrap-up?
I think there's one issue left.
There's one issue left. Is there one issue left? Yeah, there is one issue left. But it's been a pretty fun run. I've had a good time with this comic, and the art is really, really good. But keep in mind, I used to do stand-up comedy, so, like, I understand dying on stage. I used to do stand-up comedy. I'm really good at getting on a stage and not making people laugh. So I identified with this book quite a bit. Had a good time with it. Yeah. So we'll have it here. Come pick it up. It's honestly pretty darn good. Don't start with that book though. Go back a couple issues, pick up the rest. Next is From the World of Black Hammer Visions. And this is Patton Oswalt, Dean Kotz, Jason Wordie, and Nate Picos. And wow, okay. Now the Black Hammer books, like some of them I pick up and I'm like, oh, it's pretty good. I measure everything by the first Black Hammer series, which was amazing. And everything since then, I'll pick them up and I'll be like, oh, it's pretty good. Or it's not really that, like, I didn't like it very much. This, however, was outstanding. Ridiculously good. Had a grander statement on society and how we view people who we think are weird, but are really kind of like just being different and living their lives different and just being the best person they can be. And this is a statement on that. So for everyone who has ever felt like an outcast, but found some identity in like-minded people that were into comics and sci-fi and video games growing up, like this is your jam, trust me. And there's a really, really nice statement. And the end of this had me feeling pretty happy. So again, not my indie pick of the week, but a very, very, very close second. Oh God, it was good. Next is Hama Trimpe McLeod and Wine. And that is G.I. Joe, Real American Hero Yearbook. Now, this is not the G.I. Joe that is currently on the shelf. This is going to be some of the classic comics put together in an anthology, so you can thumb through the classics and see what kind of comics I grew up with. God, I feel old. But it was actually pretty good, and I remembered, I think one of them, or one of the pages at least, seemed sort of familiar. It's been a long time, guys, and I've gone through brain damage since then. But it was honestly, it's nice to go down sort of memory lane. So if you need a little bit of nostalgia, this is on our shelf. Oh, God, next is a book I just loved. But again, it's Rosenberg, and I love Rosenberg. So Rosenberg and Ferreira. And this is Thunderbolts. But again, this is a Thunderbolts team led by Taskmaster, who, again, in my opinion, is the walking embodiment of the Moon Knight memes. He seems like the Moon Knight memes in comic form. And yeah, I got it, well, not being Moon Knight. And we also have Star on the team, and I wanted to know what Star was doing after like her comic, where she went. Is she legit? Is she still a villain? Well, she's kind of both, and I like her for it. So this Thunderbolts is amazing. I laughed multiple times, had a good time with it. The art, I'm still kind of on the fence with the art at times, but it's written so well. The storyline's fun. The action's good. No, I'm going to tell you the art grew on me too, because by the time I got to the end of it, I really did love the art. So good showing. Come pick this up. It's outstanding. Okay, let me get a drink real quick before I get into it with this one. Kieron Gillen, Issam Ribic, and Matthew Wilson, and we're talking about Eternals #2. Now, this one's centered around Icarus. Yes, they sound like Greek pantheon names because, like, humans have mixed up their names and considered them gods. That's what the Eternals are. And you get to see some of the repercussions from it. So the first one, it felt like Icarus was being reborn, and then one of them got killed, like the main head of the Eternals, and they had to figure out who did it. And at the end of it, Thanos showed up. Yeah, that's a problem. Thanos is a problem. This one did not feel so, I don't know. The first one just felt like it was okay, right? Did you read it, Yogi?
Which one? Yeah, no.
Did you read this, Cam?
Yeah.
It was okay, right? The first one?
Yeah.
It was okay, but it wasn't like you weren't, like, there was no hook. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you were like, okay, the Eternals dealing with the Mad Titan. Yeah. That happens. This one, however, was outstanding. Oh God, it was so good. The art was great. Both the art in the first and second one were great. The story was really good. The way Icarus deals with stuff, the way Sprite sort of pulls him back. More importantly, we get to see that when humans mistake them for gods, and the Eternals like sort of abuse that I guess you could say fawning of them, thinking that they're gods and stuff like that, and how that turns out. It's pretty messed up, and there are some painful repercussions in this comic. But it's the kind of comic that I read, and after I was done with it, I wanted to have a discussion over the themes. So it was really, really, really ridiculously good. So if you're worried about the Eternals being good and you read the first one, you were like, I'm sort of on the fence, trust me, go read the second one. It will sell you on the rest of this, because I read this and was instantly like, I'm putting on an Eternals fan hat now. I'm totally into this. Do I think the Eternals movie will be good? If it's anything like this comic, it's going to be good, and I think so. The cast looks amazing. We'll see. Next is Ewing, Chang, Haidt, Lian, Shitty, and Gracia, and I'm sure I've pronounced some of these names wrong. And that is Sword. Oh man, did we need another X team? Yes. Yes, we did. Now, Sword, I wasn't sure where they were going with the first couple issues either. Were you, Cam?
No.
Not really, right? It felt a little like all over the place. Like they're pulling together a team.
I was still trying to figure out like how it connected to
What?
King and Black stuff.
King and Black, right? We weren't sure. And thankfully, they do explain how this is connected to the King and Black stuff. And it's good. But more importantly, this centers around a character called, what's his name? Eden Fessy? Quintition? Is that his name? Quintition? Do you know that character?
No.
I don't know this character very much either, if I'm honest. But what I'm going to tell you is he's got kind of a cool power set, and that he can control space, but they say in this that control is not the word. And I'm going to read just the tiniest excerpt from this because I love Ewing's writing. But it says Eden Fessy talks to space. If he tells the universe to fold itself until he can walk across it in a single step, it does. If he tells space to warp so light passes all the way without it letting him hitting him, to form a little bubble of invisibility just for him, it will. He says it's not telling, it's asking. It still terrifies me thinking about it for too long. Wow. So you ask space in the universe to do something and it does it. Why would you need to ask something unless it's sentient?
Right.
So, okay, let's be honest. It's Ewing. Ewing is amazing. Whatever Ewing puts his name on and writes for turns out amazing. And Immortal Hulk shows. And I am fully on board after this issue. There's a lot of action. There is a character in this that now I want to know so much more about. There is a big bad. And that big bad is in the form of, well, Gamma Flight's leadership, the Immortal Hulk. Of course he's going to link those, right? But it's pretty good. And Sword is willing to cut deals with people they wouldn't normally cut deals with in pretty messed up ways. And that's all I'm going to say. I can't spoil that for you, but to save Earth is kind of cool. So, really, really good comic. I'm going to say this is my second close pick of the week. So if you love Black Panther, that's my pick of the week. My second pick of the week is the Sword issue, because Marvel just has so many good books these days. Oh God, a complete 180 from a few years back, man. Because man, we were struggling to get good books a few years back, and now Marvel is like knocking it out of the park. So we will have all of these on our shelves for you, and that's our show for this week. I'm so happy. We got everything done in time. I can go home and spend time with my kids. So I will see you guys later. I feel like we should have some ending line at the end of these shows, and I've never come up with one.
Do the dance.
Oh yeah, do the dance. Take care, Green Machine friends and fans of fun. I haven't greeted the show with that greeting in a while.